Hello YouTube, this is Chelsea from STEM APKs. Welcome to another tutorial. This tutorial we're going to continue where we left off in the last tutorial. And if you remember in the last tutorial, I showed you how to use a lot of the basically how to read the files, the output from the ACR122. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, go and watch my tutorial. And I also introduced a way that we can use any application, file explorer application, whether iOS or whether on Android. I'm using Android. This is my Android phone. The one that I'm using is this one right there. It's FX. It works much better than all the other ones, so I use a few. I like this one better. And what you can do is you create basically, if you're in Windows, you use Windows hosts with SMB, or you can use an FTP server, or you can use SSH FTP, SFTP server. Okay, that's what I'm using. And then you create one, and you go here and you create, you put, and I'm going to show you all that. You have to be very specific with the username, the display name, and the IP address. And you can put your IP address here. You're going to put here whatever your IP address is, and 192.168.0.100. That's my IP address. In your case, it's going to be different. Here, you're going to put your username. In my case, it's Pi, because I haven't changed it. It's still Raspberry Pi, and it's going to ask you for a password. I'm not going to create another one because I already have two. And as you can see, this is the one that we created in the last tutorial, and this is the one this is the new one. This is the secure one. So if I go into this one, I'm going to put up my password, and I'm going to pause the video. Okay, now I have my password in there, and now I hit OK, and it's gonna let me into my Pi, and I can have everything. I have access to everything in my Pi. This is what I showed you in the last tutorial. I don't want to do that. What I want to do is have something that is authenticated and it is secure, and this is why I created this one right here. And if I try to get into that one, and I just put password, the actual password is password, password. And if I try to get in, it's going to tell me it was not accepted. And if I try again, so you see that I tried again, password, PASSWORD, okay. And it's going to refuse me again. The reason it's refusing me is because I want it to be that way. Because I have this file here that, let me just see, where am I? And target, so it will be sudo target, and then debug. Is it debug? Yeah. And then I don't know what I called it. Is it main? No. Let's try again. CD target, ls, I forgot, CD debug, and I called it auth. That's what it is. Okay, so now let's just sudo auth. And then I run it, right? And now I get my access card that I already have programmed, and I'm going to show you how to do it from scratch. I get my card ready. It's telling me, place your NFC card on the reader to enable file sharing. So I just do what it tells me to do. It detects the card, and look at that. It tells me where to go, what server, what folder directory we're using, and where it is in the Pi. And it tells me that I only have so much time. I only have 10 minutes to do what I gotta do, and then it will revoke. And you can time it to whatever you want. So now When I put password, again, it's telling me 9:29. That's what I time remaining. So now when I do password again, password, and first it refuses me. Of course it does. It always does the first time. Password. And then OK. And now, voila, I'm inside. It refused me before because I was not authenticated. But now I am authenticated by presenting my NFC card. And that, my friend, that you can do lots of things with that because you can protect all kinds of stuff. This is just through Android and an app and a Raspberry Pi, but your imagination, you're only limited by your imagination, the stuff that you can do. But enough of this, and let's see how we made this possible. So now we're going to get into my GitHub. I created this GitHub about an hour ago. I updated it. And here I give you everything you need to know. It tells you the guide, what it does. It's access control by an NFC card using an ACR reader. It tells you that it's using a Python detector script. It's using a Rust file sharing. I'm using Python to talk to between the reader and the Raspberry Pi. There's a lot more compatibility with Python, but everything else I'm using Rust, and I'll show you the Rust program in 1 minute. It explains what happens when an authorized NFC card is detected. The system enables both the Samba and the secure FTP access to a shared folder. That's that folder that you see here, and it's that folder right there. And if I look at it, if I show you, it's that folder right there. You have the file user folder and you have the Pi folder that is not authenticated, it's not protected. That's what they're talking about here. Okay, so let's go back. Hardware requirements, of course, you need a Raspberry Pi with a micro SD card. Hopefully you have that already if you've been watching my tutorials. You need an ACR122 reader. You can get one for about $30 in Amazon. And all you need is, don't get the expensive one, get the one for $30. It works fine. You don't need the expensive one. They have some of them for over $100, $80. You don't need that. Just stick to that one. It works. What else you need? Excuse me. Then you also need, let's continue here. Of course, you need NFC tags, and you need of power and network connection, of course. From the last tutorial we did this part. You need to install Samba, and you need to, and this is in my GitHub, so just go there and just follow directions. You need to install Rust and just follow the default. You will get Cargo also installed. These are for the ACR122. We did that in the last tutorial. You need PCSD, you need PSC tools, you need these. Without these, nothing will happen, because a lot of this is for the Python script that I was telling you, PyScart. This is all the lib NFC development dependencies, and the lib NFC for the binaries and all that good stuff. You need to create a directory called etnmc, and let's just do that one together so you see it. And let's just see it so I show you. And that's what you're going to have. There's gonna have all kinds of stuff. You need to comment out some of them. So you need to comment out that one. Allow it to scan false. It's by default is true. No, I think by default is true or false. I forgot. You need to comment out this one also. And lag level default I think is 1, but you need to do lag level 3. And here the most important thing, you need to add the device driver for that particular ACR122 and the device name. You need to be very specific or you will have all kinds of problems. X out of this one, and now let's continue going down. You're going to add all of that. That's what we just did. We're also going to blacklist certain files to make sure to prevent conflicts. So I'll show you what that is. And I don't even think I have everything in there. Like, I only have 1 out of the 3. This one creates all kinds of problems. So that's why they keep blacklisting it. So make sure you blacklist it because it can create conflicts. It did to me. And here I have 3 that create problems. And here actually you can take those 2 out. Don't just put like the one that I have, this one. Don't blacklist that one. I think that was from before. Just in case I might get that out of there. You need to create some rules, and let me show you what that looks like. By the way, it needs to be sudo because all of these it needs super user. So you need to add this line right there into the file. And if you want to see what it says, this is what it says. You need to put that in there. Okay, let's continue. You apply the changes. This is more if you're having issues. Just follow the. I had to go. I did all day getting all kinds of errors, and I had to use system control restart a few times to get it to start. And basically, the way to test it, you just enter that into. After you did all that. And to test it, you just do that sudo CSK scan after downloading all this stuff. And if you get that, you're golden, because that means it's working. It's waiting for a card. So now I enter a card, and that goes to what we discussed in the last tutorial. That's what we did in the last tutorial, and you know what that stuff and where that's coming from. Okay, so if you got to this point, you're golden. So let me stop it and clear it and continue following directions. Now we get into the Python detector script. This is the Python script that I mentioned that is using the from the smart card. This works very good. That's why I'm using it. I tried to go all the way with Rust, and it was giving me problems. So I'm using that Python script to detect the card. It just makes your life a lot easier. That's what I'm doing it. You have to make that Python script executable. And to test it, you just copy and paste. Put a card on the reader, or if not, it's going to say no card. So get it ready, and boom, it detects it. Get another card ready, and I dropped it. I dropped the card somewhere. Here it is. And now I get it on the reader again, run it, and it detects it. So if it's doing that, it's working. Okay, we'll continue. So we did all that, and now we're going to create the directory. Now we get into the Rust part to create the Rust project. So if you watch my tutorials, you know how to create Rust files. So this is what I'm calling it. I was calling it before, but then I changed the name to make it a shorter name. I'm calling it, it's right there. See it? So let me Control C, CD, and this is what I called it, auth. But before I had a file share, but it was too long, so I just put auth. You can call it whatever you want. You CD, once you create the directory, you CD into it, and then you initialize your project. Once you initialize it, it's going to create these files. It's going to create these two files here. LS. It's going to create the cargo TOML, and it's going to create the source directory. The other stuff you might not have it right off the bat. And then inside that cargo TOML file, you're going to add these dependencies. And that's what I have here. Nano cargo TOML. And I added these dependencies. Once you do it, Control X out of there and continue. You need to create your main file. When you first have it, it's going to say hello world and all that good stuff. You're going to take that main file and you're going to put this file. And that file is what I want to explain to you, because this is the Rust file that does all of the magic. Okay, so let's get into it and talk about it, because that is the meat and potatoes. So we'll do source main and let's go over it. And let's take the whole screen so you can see. Okay, what is in here? The U standard file system, cell file, that's all the imports, the file system modules for creating, opening, and managing files. Standard input output, so self-write is all the input output functionality, the write traits for writing to files. That's all doing here. This is for the path, because we're using importing paths going back and forth. In the next one, we're spawning threads and also working with process. Basically, process is imports all the commands for executing external system commands. That's what that is doing here. This is for spawning threads. You bring in chrono because you need time. You're going to be using timestamps. This is for the atomic, basically imports all the atomic types for trait safety and state management. That's what you're doing here. This is what makes Rust right there. Thread safety, right? That's why we love Rust. Chrono, daytime, local, it works together with the duration, and this is the external trait. These are the constants that we're using. This will not change because we're going to have this file cannot change, because you need to have the Android app access to it and the Raspberry Pi access to it. So that's why it's a constant. You're going to have the authorization log where you're logging all of this stuff. And if you want to see that, this will be very, very handy when you're debugging. And I'll show you what I mean by that. When it's right there, let me open this one. Cat paste. You see all of it? It tells you everything is being logged, when it was enabled, what card gave it authorization. Remember, you can have more than one card. How long was it enabled for? When it was disabled, it was enabled for 10 minutes and then it was disabled. All of that stuff. You see, one unauthorized card would try to get in and it's all locked. And all of that good stuff, it can come very, very handy, especially when you're debugging or if you're looking at security stuff. It's all there. Same thing for the state. This is also, I didn't check this one yet. Let me try it. Let's do it. Why not? Let's clear this one. Cat command B. Let's see what is in there. And there's no such file. There's nothing there yet. That's why I don't know about it. So we continue with this one. The timeout right now is 10 minutes. But you can change it to 5 minutes. You can change it. Actually, let's change it to 5 minutes. Whoops. I did something. No. Let's do it over again. Let's do 5 minutes. I always forget in the Pi. I think I'm in my Mac, and then I do stupid stuff like that. So then save it 5 minutes. 10 minutes is a long time. The NFC script, that's the Python script that I just mentioned to you. The authorized cards, this is the card that I have right now, but you can add more. You can put as many as you can, as long as you have them like that, just comma and just add it and keep adding cards. This is the first stuff, the stuff that you first see, giving you directions of what to do. This one ensures that the script already exists. That script right there makes sure that it's there. So without this script, there's nothing gonna happen. So that's what it's doing here. And we continue. Let's keep going down. And set up the system. Basically was this is where the calls the setup system function, and it propagates any errors with this. This is the question operator, and that's basically, it propagates errors. That's what basically it does. Continue. Ensure sharing is initially disabled. You don't want to be sharing right away, so that's why you disable it by default. Set up the signal handling. This is where the ARC and the atomic stuff for the thread safety is happening. You're setting up the signal handling, and this is where all of that stuff is happening. You basically create an atomic boolean wrapped in an ARC for thread safe sharing. At first you initially set it to true, then it clones the ARC, because later we're going to be using it for the Control-C. So this is where the closure and the handler. And here we need to create a mutable last check, because it's going to initialize the variable to track when we last check the displayed status. Okay, this is where it's happening. It has to be mutable because it's going to be changing. And this is the while loop, and basically it's going to be the main loop that continues while the running flag is true. As long as that flag is telling you that is true, is going to keep going until it stops. Okay, so that's what's happening here. And then we continue all of that stuff. We display status every 30 seconds. It's figuring out from the file system. It's going to read the state, and it's going to see state management and making sure that everything is good, everything is kosher. And then it's going to say file sharing active, and you saw that before, and the time that you have. In our case, it's going to be 5 minutes. It's going to do a last check, and then this is the spawning the thread, and then it will go to sleep after whatever time, and then continue. Reset the last check when not authenticated. This is making sure that the last check is still what it says that it is. Here it's reading the NFC card, and this is the UID. We did that in the last tutorial. It will make sure that it's authorized or not. This is what we did in the last tutorial, because it's going to, basically that's where it's making sure that it's authorized or unauthorized, and that's what we did before when I put the unauthorized card. It's an if or else. We continue. You need to do cleanup, and this cleanup is very important, and I'm going to show you this function is here at the end, because with that cleanup you're going to have stuff dangling. And where is it? There it is. And this is your cleanup function, and you need to make sure that all of that, it cleans this stuff after you either stop, or either you got an unauthorized card. All of that stuff, it gave me a world of pain here. So you have to, that cleanup function is key. If not, nothing will work the way it's supposed to work. And where am I now? And basically this here is the function that reads the card. We saw that in the last tutorial. It's going to run the NFC script. This one function sets up the system with the input output. It's going to result or okay. This is all this stuff for the file share. You can change these. Is it browsable? Yes. Writable? Yes, because you will gotta make changes, and these are your permissions. Okay. This is all the Samba stuff that is going to create. There's a lot of this. You could do this also through a batch script, but some of it I'm doing it here batch. Sometimes you can even have a whole batch script outside of the Rust. I just included in Rust just to make my life easier, but these are all batch scripts that you can control out of the system if you wanted to. You can configure it either way. This is creating the secure FTP server, and this is all stuff, a combination of bash and Rust. This enables the file sharing and making sure that now and expiration, when is now and when does it expire. You need to know that, and that's why we're bringing Chrono to keep track with the timestamps. Make the shared directory accessible. You're giving it rights here, and you're owning it to make sure that it gives you permissions. If not, it's going to be complaining that it needs super user rights. So that's why I'm doing that. Once you close, this is very important here. Once you close the file, it goes from 777 to 770, and that's huge because that's where it closes the permissions, so you don't have any more permissions after you close it. You cannot look at the file basically anymore. And this is to get the IP address. This is a little bit the UTF-8 to lossy. It's getting late. I'm tired. The trim, the split, the necks, all of that good stuff. And this is all the stuff that looks pretty to tell you what's going on. I got some of those icons from online to make it pretty. Disable the file sharing. That's what I was telling you. Once you disable it, it goes to 7000 because you want to restrict the permissions once you get out. Disable the file user, force a restart so it drops all the connections to make sure that you're not connected anymore. And then the cleanup that we just talked about that earlier, and voila, that is the program, and that's the magic. And like I said, all of that stuff is right here in my GitHub. I also included this here in case you run, giving you some troubleshooting, just in case you get into trouble, just in case it was not detected. It tells you what to do. Try to restart, try to reboot, and do this. If you know, just follow. I had to do all of that. That's how I know, because I went through a world of pain to get this to work. And then that is it. But this is the end of this tutorial. If you like this tutorial, please click the like box, subscribe to my channel, and I will see you next time with another tutorial. Take care.